Welcome to the second part of the discussion on functions in Excel. In this session, we will take up commonly used financial and mathematical functions. Let's take a look at the mathematical functions we are going to cover. We'll start directly with the functions in our Excel sheet. And we'll be taking small questions on each of the functions to understand how the function works. Now the first function that we have is the sum function. We have dealt with this function in one of the previous sessions on functions as well. So sum function is used to add numbers. For example, if I want to find the sum of 102, I can do that with the help of sum function. I will enter equal to sum, cell reference of the number 100, comma, cell reference of the number 2, press enter, I get the result. Then we come to the round function. Now round function helps in rounding a number to a specific number of digits. For example, I have taken the number 51.8394 and I will be rounding this to 3 decimal places, to a whole number and to the nearest multiple of 10. The rounding works in the similar way that we always use. That means it checks the next digit after the place to which it is to be rounded, and if that digit is more than 5 or equal to 5, it rounds to the next number, otherwise it rounds to the lower number. So let's take the first example. That means 51.8394 to be rounded to 3 decimal places, equal to round. Let us look at the syntax of this function. The function has the syntax number, comma, number underscore digit. Number is the number which is to be rounded, that is 51.8394 in our case. And num underscore digit refers to the number of decimal places, the number of significant places to which I want to round it. Now here I want to round it to 3 decimal places, so my num underscore digits is going to be 3. So I enter the number by clicking on the cell reference and I enter the num underscore digits also. This gives me and I close the bracket. Now ideally, since the fourth digit that I have is 4, which is less than 5, so the number will be rounded to 51.839. As you can see, it has been rounded. Now next I have to round it to a whole number. So what I'll do is I'll again enter the function equal to round number, comma, num underscore digits. Now for a whole number it means 0 decimal places, so my num underscore digits will be 0. The number is rounded to 52. It can be rounded either to 51 or 52, but since the digit after 51 is 8, so it gets rounded to 52. Now I am going to round it to the nearest multiple of 10. Now 51 lies between 50 and 60. These are the two closest multiples of 10 that we have. Since it's closer to 50, it will get rounded to 50. So I am entering this number. Now what will be num underscore digits? Whenever I am rounding to the left side of the decimal, I will use a negative num underscore digit. So for rounding to the multiple of 10, I am going to use -1 as my num underscore digit. As you can see, it has been rounded to 50. The next function that I am going to talk about is the round up function. Now round up function rounds a number away from 0 to a specified number of places away from 0. If I want to round the same number 51.8394 to the next multiple of 10, that means I want to round this to 60. As you saw, when we did it with round function, it gave me 50 because it was closer to 50, but I want it to be rounded to 60. This can be done using round up function. So I'll insert the function equal to round up. The syntax of this function is the same as the round function, number, comma, num underscore digit. So I enter the number and I enter the num underscore digit as -1. It gives me 60. Round down function is the next function that we are going to talk about, and in this function it is used to round a number to a significant number of places, to a specified number of digits closer towards 0. So it rounds any number towards 0. If I want to round 51.8394 to a whole number 51, then I can do that with round down. If you just use round, it will become 52 as you saw over here. But I want to round this to 51 to the lower number, so I will use round down. Because 51 is closer to 0, so the number will be rounded to 51. Please always keep a number line in mind whenever we are using round up and round down function. Round up will always round away from 0. Round down will always round towards 0. So 0 decimal places and the number becomes 51. Next function that I have is ABS. ABS is used to find the absolute value of a number devoid of any plus or minus sign. So to find the absolute value of -1, what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter the arguments of ABS. It takes the argument number. The number that I want to round is -1. The number for which I want to find the absolute value is -1. So the answer that I get is 1. Next, if I want to generate say random numbers between 0 and 100 and I want to generate 10 random numbers, this can be done using rand between function. So I enter the function rand between. It takes two arguments, bottom and top. Bottom is the lower limit of the range between which I want to generate the random numbers, and top is the higher limit. So you can see a number between 0 to 100 has been generated. If I copy this to the next cells, you can see that random numbers have been generated between 0 to 100. You will also notice that all these random numbers are different. So every time I use this function, it generates a different random number. Next function that I have is SQRT. SQRT function is used to find the square root of a number. So suppose I want to find square root of 100, I will simply use SQRT. It takes the number as the argument, number to be rounded, and gives me 10. Last function under the mathematical category that we'll take is SUMIF function. SUMIF function helps us in calculating the sum of a range provided a condition is satisfied. So let's see how this function works. Equal to SUMIF. Now it takes three arguments: range, criteria, and sum range. Range is the range of cells to which I am applying the condition. The question that I have is, I want to find the total marks of students in the physics assignment. Now you can see below, right over here in this range, I have marks of the students in 3 subjects. I just want to add the physics marks. So range refers to the range of cells where I want to apply the criteria. Since my criteria is physics marks, I will be using this range of K13 to K18 as my range. So range will be the range of cells containing the name of the subject, comma, criteria. What is my criteria? Criteria is that physics marks have to be there. So criteria is that subject is physics. Please be sure to use the correct case because this is case sensitive. And then sum range. Sum range is the range which is to be added if the condition is satisfied. So I want to add marks. So this is my range, L13 to L18, and I click enter. I get 35, which is my marks for physics. Let's quickly now move on to our financial functions. Financial functions, we're going to do 5. The first 3 pertain to loans and their repayments, and the last 2 pertain to the depreciation. Again, we'll take 2 small questions to understand how these functions work. The first question you can see over here. The 3 functions that we are going to talk about are PMT, PPMT, and IPMT. PMT function helps in calculating the amount of installment for a loan that you've taken. PPMT helps you in calculating the principal component of the installment. Suppose you have taken a loan for 100, suppose the installment that you are paying is 100, then out of that 100, how much is the repayment towards the principal? That is calculated using PPMT. And IPMT calculates the interest component of the installment. So IPMT calculates the interest component of the installment. That means what is the amount of interest in that 100. In this particular question, a person has taken a loan, and the loan has been taken at loan is of 20 lakh at 5% per annum for 5 years to be repaid annually in equal installments. I have to find the amount of the loan. I also have to find the principal component of the third installment and interest component of the third installment. Of course, the total installment will remain the same every time. Now, if you look at the syntax of this function, the first function is PMT. It takes the syntax rate, NPER, PV, FV type. What do these stand for? Rate stands for the effective rate. In our case, 5% per annum is the rate. And this is also the effective rate because we are paying annual installments. Suppose if instead of annual installments, we were paying the half yearly installments, then instead of 5%, 2.5% becomes our effective rate. Then we have the next argument is NPER. NPER refers to the total number of payment periods. That means the total number of installments which we will pay. Here 5 years equal annual installments, so NPER is 5. However, again, if we were taking if we were paying half yearly installments, we would be paying 2 installments every year, so 10 installments will be the NPER. The next argument is PV. PV refers to the present value of the loan. That means what is the amount of loan that you've taken, which is 20 lakh. You will notice that I've taken the PV to be negative because in case of financial functions, by convention, any inflow is positive, outflow is negative. Since the amount of installment that you pay is outflow, so PMT gives you a negative answer. To avoid getting a negative answer and to avoid that confusion, what we do is we take a negative PV so that our answer is positive and we feel that yes, the answer is correct. Otherwise, students get confused. So, having said that, let's calculate FV and type. FV is the future value of the loan. Normally, this is 0. Type refers to whether the loan is based, whether the loan installment is to be paid at the end of the period or whether it is paid in the beginning of the period. So let me put my function for the current question equal to PMT rate NPER PV. I'm not taking any FV and type because that is the default value which will be taken. I get my installment as 4.61 lakh. Now, next I calculate the principal amount in this 4.61 lakh using the PPMT function. The arguments are rate, NPER, rate per. Per refers to the particular installment for which we are calculating the principal component. Please understand that this changes every installment because the total amount of the installment remains the same, but the proportion of principal and interest keeps on changing. Then NPER PV 3.99 lakh approximately is the amount of principal in my third installment, and the balance is the interest. Of course, I can calculate rate per NPER PV. So the remaining 62,000 is my interest in that 4.61 lakh. Now the next or the last set of functions, financial functions that we take up are related to depreciation. We are taking two functions, SLN and DB. SLN calculates depreciation on straight line basis, whereas DB calculates depreciation on fixed declining balance method. The arguments that they both take are cost, which is the purchase price, salvage, which is the scrap value of the asset, life, which is the useful life of the asset. DB takes two more arguments, period and month. Month refers to how many months are there in the first year if the asset is purchased within the year, then the number of months in the first year would be different. Period refers to the period for which you are calculating the depreciation based on the DB, because DB depreciation varies every time. So I'll just quickly put this equal to SLN cost, comma, salvage, comma, life, and press enter, equal to DB cost, comma, salvage, comma, life, comma, period. The last one is of course my, now this is the answer that I get. The last argument is optional. I hope you've understood. Thank you so much. We'll continue in the next session. Look,